the H.A.T.A.E podcast.
And we are live. Welcome to the first edition of the H.A.T.A.E podcast. I'm Benjamin Madel. You may know me as the admin from the group on Facebook. If you don't know me from there, get involved. I'm joined today by Kitty Latham, who is the Assistant Creative Director at Sassoon Academy in London. So how are you, Kitty?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
All good here. It's delighted to get you on here for the first episode. I've been planning this for a little while with the podcast, trying to get it going. And I finally pulled the trigger and got it going. So for this podcast, we're just going to talk about what you do in the hairdressing industry, how you got involved in the hairdressing industry, what your opinions on the industry are, how we can improve it, what we do like, what we don't like. Sort of a nice broad church of what hairdressing encompasses. So tell us then, Kitty, how did you get started in the hairdressing industry?
Oh, wow. Well, I got started with the encouragement of my dad and mum, actually. So when I was 17, I had left school. I'd been encouraged to go to university, and I didn't want to do it. And because I didn't really know what I would be able to get from university that would help me with my future. And then you're going to ask me what I wanted to do with my future. And the answer to that is I had no idea at all. And when I was 15 as a school leaver, I went to a college to study beauty therapy, which that's painting nails and waxing and facials and all that stuff. And I thought I'd quite like to have a go at that. And I did that. And I really didn't like it. And then I cried on the steps of the college thinking, oh my God, what I'm going to do. Anyway, so my dad was in the 90s and in the 2000s, he was a distributor of hair colorant and hair products. A few names that we still know exist now. And he said, I think you should be a hairdresser. And I thought, can people see my face? No. Well, my expression, can they?
Yeah.
All right. Oh God. Right. So my expression to that was, I just thought, I can't even do my own hair. So why would I be good at doing someone else's hair? And then my dad, being a really, really sort of emotionally intelligent salesman, he said, well, it's not just about doing hair. You could do something else. You could sell the products. You could be on a stage. You could be showing other people how to do it, which very weirdly is where I've ended up now. So I started sort of reluctantly in an apprenticeship, reluctantly, and that's how it started.
Quite an unusual thing, that really is. It's like you say, it's not unusual in the fact that you've got so many people who don't want to be, going to university and whatnot else, but they get pushed so forcefully into that direction. And it is usually from home as well, because, you've got the school going from one end and you've got the parents thinking, well, they've got to go to university to get a job and whatnot. And then it's quite unusual. I never wanted to go to university or anything like that myself either. It wouldn't have suited me one iota. But it's quite refreshing to hear that, especially I think as your father was involved in the industry, he obviously saw what the potential is in the industry, and I think that's something as an industry we don't do very well. We don't show people what can be available. He obviously saw that. Well, no, you can run a salon, you could sell the products, you could educate. You've got hairdresser, and people think they do Mrs. Smith for a roller set every Monday, but then it's obviously not. We know that because we're in it. Was it a big salon that you started with your apprenticeship in, or was it a smaller salon?
No, it wasn't a big one at all. I grew up in a affluent market town in Yorkshire. So if anyone's not from England who's joining us, a market town is is a place that has a market.
Absolutely.
Groundbreaking, but it's not a big place. That's just what I wanted to kind of get across. It was a small place, and it had people there that had some money in their pockets. And I worked in 2 salons. I worked in the first salon I ever worked in, which was your question, it was a franchise salon.
Okay.
So it was a salon that, a company owned the name, and you would, if you wanted to, you could open up one. And I started small, and I started quite badly, actually.
Yeah, did you enjoy it, or didn't you enjoy it, or?
I enjoyed it. What I really enjoyed was very much the understanding of the industry I had walked into. So for me, it was looking up at the older members of staff and thinking, God, you're so cool. I thought these people above me were really cool because they had, if I'm being honest, they had really cool clothes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
They had really good chat. They had a really good knowledge of things that I didn't have much knowledge about, like music and clubs and restaurants and people. And I thought, you're just standing there, just really effortlessly, just talking to everybody. And they at the end of it, they go, oh, that's great. And then at the end of it, they're slipping 10 or 20 quid in your hand as a tip at the end. Like, what's not to like about what's happening here,
Yeah, it's not so bad at all, that, is it, really? It's quite fun. Yeah. You think, oh, this is cool. I mean, I put a thing up the other day that saw, and it was like, there's not many jobs where you sort of stand around listening to music, talking to people you like. It's eventually, as you get through that, you do get a clientele that you just like. It's the whole thing that people buy people. So it is, and it's not so bad from that point of view, is it? It's not so bad. So at what point? So you say you were in 2 salons. So was there one you were at for a short time, and then you went to a different place, or was it there? Yeah.
So the different place was a place that I speak really fondly of. It was a company called West Row.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was owned by a couple of gentlemen called Mark and Steve. And that was franchised too, but it was a lot smaller. And I remember wanting to level up a bit. I realized I'd maybe gotten some really great coloring skills, but my cutting skills were not amazing. I used to kind of, as I say it now, I used to basically wing it a lot. So I'd sort of wing it through haircuts, and I recognized that there was another shop in the town that just had a bit of a higher caliber of what they had in their windows, like competition entrance, all this stuff. And again, the girls who worked there looked really, really cool. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm going to go and work there. And again, that did not go well straight away. They identified that I needed quite a lot of training from a cutting point of view to bring me up to their standard, their expectation level. I must have been about, I think I must have been about 20 or 21 at the time. Did I take that feedback well about needing to work a bit more on my cutting skill? No, didn't. It was almost like, it was a bit bittersweet because I think I thought I was better than I was, or I think maybe I didn't need to have maybe as much time put into the training that I thought I did. Yes.
It's an easy trap to fall into, though, isn't it? Is when you sort of, you get qualified eventually and you think, I've been doing this for 2 years now, I'm an expert. But we're not, that's it, isn't it? It does. It takes time, and I think that is another problem with sort of hairdressing as a job. You don't get good at it for about 10 years. You know, it's like after that point, you know, people pick it up at different paces. But then there was a, you know, I don't know if it happened with you. There was a point where I thought, yeah, I'm all right at this now. You know,
Yeah,
sort of doing
that,
jobs
yeah,
and things, and
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's working now. You know,
yeah. No, where I worked, I taught. I learned. I didn't teach. Sorry, I said the wrong thing. I was taught by some incredible people that I still regard them verbally when I teach other people now. And maybe at the time, because obviously now I'm 37 this year, and obviously this was a very long time ago. Maybe at the time I didn't seem like the most appreciative learner, but
yeah.
I definitely, you know, appreciate it now. But they were excellent. And if I'm honest with you, after spending some time at this salon group and improving a lot, I still felt I hadn't maybe had the best start with cutting, and I felt really insecure about it. And my mum at this point, she said, you know, I think we should invest in some education for you at Vidal Sassoon. And I went, oh gosh, am I good enough to go there? And that, you know, all these, you know, this doubt. And then my mum was like, well, no, you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be good enough to go there. We pay for it to go there.
Yeah.
Ooh, like, ooh. And yeah, that, I mean, I moved to London to do a 3-month long course, and literally, you know, yeah, it was great. It was a roller coaster of, this is really hard, this is really good, this is really hard, this is really, you know, up and down. But I gained a lot from it. And then I never moved back to Yorkshire after the course. Yeah.
Just stay. Now with that, so you say you went on a 3-month course. So did you stop working on clients at that point, or stop working in a salon? You went back and started from essentially not scratch, but you went right back to a traineeship level there then?
I did. So I left Yorkshire, I left my home, sold my little car, and moved down to London, and was, you know, overwhelmed but very excited. And yeah, I did the course, and yes, you're right, I did kind of take myself back to the start, which I was very open to doing. And then, you know, I just, at the end of the course, I just kind of thought, I don't know if I should go home. I think I should stay here. And my parents, I was very lucky, really lucky. My parents said, right, you know, how long do you think it's going to take for you to get a job? I went, a month. Okay, well, we'll pay rent for 1 more month, and then that's it. We're not going to pay it anymore. So I was very lucky to have, you know, financial help.
Yeah.
And then I went about getting myself a job, and yeah, I had my first sort of real taste of what a real trades test was, because I'd never really done one before in Yorkshire.
Yeah. I suppose at that point you're sort of applying for the sort of the other jobs, and it's just, well, come in and, you know, can you do a sort of a haircut and put a colour on? Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you prefer sort of the bright lights of London, so to speak, rather than the market town in Yorkshire? I mean, you're obviously still there, so it's you know, you did you find the work a lot different? Did you find it, as in you were doing more, what should we say, contemporary and fun things with hair, or did you find that it was pretty much the same haircuts, just in a different place? Or?
I mean, I think the big difference between going from a market town to a city is the city, you know, with being such a major city, there was a richly big change in cultural and and cultural and, you know, ethnic and people of different backgrounds. I mean, gosh, I would, you know, I was cutting people who, you know, Asian people. I'd never cut somebody from Asia before. I'd never cut Afro hair until I moved to London. So I was, you know, it was just fantastic. My hands were just getting into this like huge spectrum of different hair types and head shapes, and you know, it was so enormously helpful and enriching to that stage of my career, to just be able to touch and appreciate different hair types. Yeah,
absolutely. It's that thing. If I know, because I sort of grew up working in a small village in Surrey, you know, and it's like, you know, there's not too much sort of difference in people. Then I moved to Berlin, in Germany.
oh wow,
I was
yeah,
there for 7 years, and it was like Berlin at the time. It's changing now, but it was very people just. It was full of artists, creativity. It was there. So I was going there and doing all these sort of really out there haircuts, because it seemed like the thing to do when you move there. And people were like, you know, it's almost like you had to get the Berlin haircut. You know, like it was, you know, like the girls would come in and it'd be really like shaved, but then really geometric shapes and really fun. But yeah, it's interesting you found that, and it was good for you then to move into sort of London and you work with all these different people.
mm.
How long was it before you moved to Sassoon's in London?
Well, I had a wonderful teacher, like on the course that I did. I did this course called Cutting Comprehensive. It was like 3 months of just cutting, and you know, with the support and critique and I guess motivation for. In the blah, blah, to a level of somebody that's like a graduate stylist. So they would push you, you know, you were really pushed, and they would critique you on a level of somebody that, you know, wasn't a beginner basically. And I had this wonderful teacher called Jason, and he was so encouraging of me, and he offered me all this help with, like, you know, trade tests and finding the right models for trade tests, etc. And he made this comment. He said, you know, have you ever thought about working for Sassoon? And I thought, oh gosh, oh gosh, don't know about that. Oh gosh. But his comment stayed with me, and after a short while of working in a salon and just getting a bit of money, so my parents didn't have to keep handing out, I did apply for Sassoon. Yeah. About a year later.
Did you go and work in this? Was that to work in the salons first, or was that to work in the academy? Yeah.
So my journey started in the salons. I got to work in quite an iconic location with a very iconic team. I was working on the King's Road, which they still work with us now. We've got these like really seriously iconic members of staff who've been at the company for 50 plus years. Oh my God, incredible. Like, to say that they're characters is an understatement.
Yeah, I'm sure the stories as well, especially, I mean, as people might not be aware, some of the younger people, or perhaps people abroad, is like the King's Road Sassoons. It was everyone went there in the everyone.
Yeah.
You know, if you've seen a picture from 1960 something, it was probably there that they got their haircut. Yeah. You know, Rolling Stones, the Beat, you name it, everyone was there. You know, and then also you had the other hairdressers, you know, Leonard and whatnot, that would have come from there as well. You know, it's like. And you know, if it wants Sassoon, it was him. You know, it's a very iconic location. I mean, the stories they must be able to tell as well would have been great to be around. You know, sort of a young hair. You know, especially. It was amazing. But they would have trained with Vidal as well, wouldn't they? You know, he would have been still very active then. You know, within the things that would have been great to have spoken to people like that.
Yeah. I'm really lucky though, because I'm with them again now.
So
like, because I don't know if you know, but like we now have the House of Sassoon, which is like, it's like a headquarters location now in Soho. It's incredible. It's like mind blowing. Like, oh my God, the building is just incredible. But we now, it's amazing. And we've now got we have the staff from our, the other locations. We used to have salons in Covent Garden, St Paul's, the King's Road, and oh my God, South Morton Street. And now we've just put we're all under one roof. So it's just this it's like a hive of intense Sassoon energy. It's pretty amazing, I have to say.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so I get to share my lunch breaks with the people that I started my journey with now, which is so nice.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I haven't been yet, but I've seen pictures and whatnot through social media and all the usual places. It does seem like a really sort of cool, good place to be. I mean, I know that area quite well. I used to spend a lot of time around Greek Street and whatnot in Soho, and it's a fabulous place to be. And sort of on a social level, Soho's coming back alive again. It's becoming a lot more. It's becoming a place to go out again rather than sort of people just sort of nip through. It's culture is becoming a very important place. And when did you go in to start working into the academies?
I did that. That really did kind of happen very organically. I did my classic test in the salon, then I did my creative test, and then I was kind of on the shop floor, doing clients. And then I remember I formed a very close friendship with one of my very good friends who I still work with now, called James. And James was in the academy and I was in the salons. And we, like I said, we were good friends and we used to go to the pub a lot together. And I would often join the academy team in the pub. And I'd covered there a couple of times when other team members had been on holiday. I'd covered over there and enjoyed myself. And I think they thought I did quite an all right job. And then basically one evening, they, a couple of the academy team members said, "So when are you going to come to the academy then?" And at that point, I'd really not thought about an academy, a career. And I just thought, well, I'm going to give this a try. All I can do is give it a try. And here I am. That's how it happened. Yeah.
Sort of just happened, rolled about over a couple of beers, and it was a case of, well, so then, yeah. How long
obviously there was an interview process and there was like a quality contrul thing.
Yeah, absolutely. How would you like your tea made? Do you like 2 sugars or do you like the milk first? No, it is no. So how long have you been in the academy now?
8 years.
Little while then.
It's the longest I've been anywhere. I've never been in a salon for 8 years. This is the longest job that I've had in my life.
Yeah, it must be quite obviously different to being in the salon. I mean, you're still obviously cutting you just cut now, do you, as well?
Yeah, just cut. Yeah.
So you're obviously sort of cutting hair every day and whatnot. Do you find it a lot different to work? Because obviously you've got your students that come through, and obviously that's sort of a continually rotating field. Do you find that? Do you find that it's? Do you like that, or do you prefer it, or is it something you find sort of harder to deal with people just coming through for like days here and there, or as opposed to being in a salon where you've got the continuous sort of I suppose you've got your continuous team with the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just don't think any week of my work in the academy looks the same. Like I might have one week where I teach a group of 9 individuals that are just coming for a 5-day experience. So you've got just enough time to get to know people, get to know the level they're at, get to know where they're from and what they're passionate about. And then you get to transfer and share your skills and advice with them and give them some ongoing, feedback for what they should do in the future. Or, I might be looking after a group that's with us for 6 months, and I might look after a same group consecutively for 4 weeks. So and then at last minute, I might get told, right, you're on camera tomorrow being filmed for a step by step. Like my week never looks the same, and I love that about my job. I love it. It's just great. Yeah.
That's another great thing about the industry is like we were saying earlier, there's so many avenues you can go down. And so what you're doing there, it is truly very varied. Like you say, 1 minute you're teaching, doing a couple of days course with someone, the next day it's 6 months with one group, and then it's brilliant. It keeps it fresh and interesting, I'm sure.
It does. It keeps me on my toes, and I just I can't imagine, for me personally, I can't imagine having almost a level of predictability now with my work. So I think where you asked me, is my job different to the salon? Yeah, hugely. And that's what I realize has kept me motivated, and it's kept me passionate. It's kept me open-minded. It's taught me multiple lessons, and I'm sure that there's more lessons that will come my way in the future. I honestly can't imagine kind of going back to a salon. I'd probably have no clients, because I probably wouldn't listen to them enough, would I? I'd probably be like, right, you're having
Oh, absolutely. To be honest, I always used to do that anyway, and I did all right. I learned from my dad, who's very much like that as well. But it's nice that there's them different facets to the industry like that. Like I say, as you can go into the academies, you can do all this fun stuff. That is it. But do you get involved with the creative imagery as well with Sassoons there as well? Yeah.
God, I've been this year has been mind blowing for me. I've got honestly, sometimes I still can't actually believe it. I have to say, this year, 2024, has been the year of opportunity on another level for me. I don't want to sound like the smuggest person on the way.
You won't do, but carry on.
Yeah, just a bit of insight. I joined the senior creative team as an assistant creative director just last year. So, I worked really hard to kind of be considered to be part of the team that create everything that you see. I've worked really hard to prove that I would be the right person for that role. And then since then, it's been being about not just settling into my role, but also thinking about my next role. I'm ready. I'm like, what do you want me to do now? What can we do now? What can I be around? What do I need to do to be a full-time creative director? I'm really at a point of motivation. And this year I've had some of just the most mind-blowing opportunity. I never in my imagination would imagine I'd get given. I've had this huge opportunity to have involvement in the creative direction and the casting, and for our mid-season collection, which is coming out in just a few weeks. So that's going to feel like a whole new thing, to see a lot of my efforts in a project. It's just kind of crazy. I'm like, wow, okay.
That's brilliant. No, it's like you say though, it's like, you've been there 8 years, you obviously worked hard to get to where you are. Where's sort of the limit for you? Where do you want to go with it? You say you want to become a
I want to have the full position. I'd love to be a creative director, because at Sassoon you've got assistant creative director, you've got creative director, you've got senior creative director, and then basically there's Mark Hayes. So I can't do global director. So I right now I would love to have the full title. So hopefully, if I just keep working hard, that's gonna come into fruition. But I don't know. Do you know what? I've never been one of these people that has had the 5-year plan. Never.
I'm glad you say that, because I never had one either. And there's a lot of, I don't know, I think there's a lot of adverse pressure it puts on people, because you hear it so much from so many people who've done okay. Some of them have done very well. But it's like that sort of contrivedness of the 5-year plan is like, I don't know. I always just sort of
fly by
the seat of my pants. We see what happens. It's
Me too.
Yeah, you know, and it
Yeah.
is, you just keep turning up is what you know, that's the advice I've always given to people.
Yeah.
Much like yourself, by the sounds of things, you just keep turning
Yeah.
up. Something will happen. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an avenue you might not have ever thought of. You
Yeah.
know, is that's the thing. You know, because sometimes you could aim for that one target in the, you know, the dim and distant future, and you get
Mm.
there and you think, well, is that it? You know, whereas if you you know, you want to do well and you want to keep progressing, but if you just keep sort of keeping an open mind to things, you know,
Oh my God. Yeah.
you
And
just end up wherever.
yeah, something that I'm a really big advocate of, and that's just not being successful in your career that you've decided to have, and but being a creative as well, and you know, producing. So that's, you know, obviously that's what we do. We produce imagery, or we produce just a fantastic look on a living person. You know, that's creativity. You know, but I always am a passionate about encouraging people to really understand what makes you tick. What is it? Like, and for a long time, I don't think I really fully understood what made me really, really excited, or really like what sparked my imagination, like what's really getting you going. And I think I hear this so much because obviously Vidal Sassoon, working for them, and it was all about architecture, and I can't remember the amount of times where I've heard somebody say, I'm so inspired by architecture, and I've just gone,
Yeah.
what? um there's so many things you can be inspired by, and it doesn't have to be architecture in hair, it can be anything. And you know, if you can focus on having that, and then focus on being technically really good, like with the scissors or the tint bowl and brush, those two things will eventually just smash together, and you will produce some incredible things.
No, absolutely. You go back to that thing of sort of where your inspiration comes from. I was at a thing with another former Sassoons person a few years ago, and it created this brilliant affirmation for me, because at some point I thought I was a bit dim. Like I would create this work. I would do nice, you know, what I like to say is nice work, and occasionally other people liked it. So I would do this work that I really liked, and people said, "Well, what's the inspiration?" Clue. I haven't got a clue where this comes from.
Did
And then
it?
I was there with him, and he was talking about that, and he said sometimes he said I'll do it, and he said 6 months later, a year later, oh, that's where that's come from. Then it could be some bit of music or some video or some picture, you know, or whatever. And he's the best cutter of hair I've ever seen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's outrageous. You know, it's a bit embarrassing being near him. It's you know, but it is. It's like that's the whole thing. Is not boxing yourself in. Keeping an open mind is in my view anyway.
Yeah.
Key to everything that goes on in the
Mm.
industry. But yes, that wraps us up here, Kitty. Thank you very much, my
Oh,
dear. Very kind of
thank
you
you
to
for
come on,
having me.
and well, no doubt see you soon. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank,
Bye.